Men need sex to open their hearts.
Yes.
You owned what you wanted.
But
Nothing wrong with that.
But the thing is, I thought that there was up until that point. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Make Men Great Again podcast. I've got a very special guest here with me today, Camille Thurnherr.
That's right.
That's how I say it.
Perfect.
I asked Camille on the podcast because she's the reason I'm here right now, if I really want to put it plainly. I'm here in Crown Towers in Melbourne. We've come down from Noosa with my wife, and who I love, and just the best relationship we've ever had. It's absolutely amazing. And Camille's a big, massive part of that. Also, I've got a daughter now, and I think the last time I saw Camille was we were recording a relationship series for my academy online for men, which, by the way, has got amazing feedback and helped a lot of people. So, I just thought, hell, let's share more of Camille and more of the things that you've helped me with and other men with and other women with. And that's why your voice is, I think, really important, because you've got a kind of cool side of both. And
yes.
I think that's so important, especially in this day and age, so that no one can say, well, she's just a feminist, or she's just this, or it's like, no, this is a pretty grounded perspective.
Love that. And thank you so much for having me. And it's amazing to see you so happy with your wife. I've just met her before, your beautiful daughter. And can I just say, I love men. So I mainly used to coach women,
yes,
and still mainly coach women, but
yep,
I have a deep respect and love for
yes,
men. So
yes,
that's where I come in from, helping women to
yes,
see the male's
yes,
perspective, and vice versa.
yeah.
So,
And I mean, just to speak on that, that's what I felt like when I came to you. I was in a relationship for 5 years, which started off fantastic, wonderful girl. But it just didn't, there were some things as I grew and went on a personal development journey, we just grew apart. And I think that's quite a common thing. But no negative things to say about her, beautiful girl. But when I came to you, I knew I was going through this spiritual and personal development kind of growth, and I started to see all my patterns. I started to see why I chose certain women in the past. And I thought, man, I'm so fucking sick of this. I need to make a change. And I mean, it took me a long time to first get into personal development. But once I did, I was like, fuck me, you can just hire someone and they're an expert, and I don't have to go through I don't have to keep making these same mistakes. Like, it's just, why didn't anybody tell me about this? It was just like, my mind was kind of blown. So Ryan Magic, who is actually coming on next.
amazing.
He's coming on next. He said to me, I worked with this girl. So can you give me the details? We spoke on a call. We met and did that first session, and in a roundabout way to just comment on what you first said, but I introduced you. I felt very safe as a man to be speaking to you. I was really afraid. I remember you saying, Scott, what do you want in a woman? And I'm thinking these things. I'm thinking, I don't want to say these things, And I remember you saying, and I hope you don't mind, but you're like, I mean, if you want to have big boobs, just say it. Like, what is you?
Absolutely.
It's not that that's the only thing, but let's be real. If you get a woman to ask, what does a man want? She's going to say, yeah, of course, I want him. She's going to say, I want him to have a big fat belly. No, she's probably going to say, look, he doesn't have to be ripped, but I'd like him to look like this. I'd like him to be this tall. I'd like him to make more money than me, or do this.
Absolutely.
And these are all preferences, and there's nothing
wrong with that.
But the thing is, I thought that there was up until that point. I literally felt so much shame that I'd squashed it down and dated women that I wasn't even necessarily attracted to. I just felt safe with. I wanted the goddess. I didn't feel safe to have that.
Interesting.
And speaking to you, I was like, what? I can just design the type of person that I want to have. So let's dive into.
I love that.
What I love to do?
Or at least you owned what you wanted.
But you made me feel safe to do that, because up until that point, I had not felt safe to want to have what had been programmed to me as being superficial things.
Okay.
And of course, that's not who I am. It's not the only thing I want, but I was denying myself of those things, thinking that that's bad.
And you mentioned the shame word.
Lots of shame.
Which is huge for both men and women. And I think that's a really good thing to bring up. You had stuff or shame around it, and my role as a coach, with that journey was like to really let's dive into that. What are you? Why is that?
Yeah.
And let's own it.
Yeah,
and
I never had that with a woman before. It was like I couldn't put into words how freeing that it felt. And I mean, we would joke in the lobby, like, what the what the fuck is going on? 3 years ago, your whole life has changed since then, because that freedom that came from feeling safe with a woman, in that to I don't know, it's hard to put into words, but obviously I took it. And
you
ran.
went all in.
Let's talk about that. I would love to talk about that session.
Sure.
That session that we went on. So we met.
We actually met in person.
We met in person. We spoke on the phone. Did like a free consult.
That's right.
We went down to the beach in Albert Park, and I'll tell you about some
That's right.
crazy synchronicities and serendipitous things and signs about Alice, my wife, in a second that came to this. But we'll get to that in a second. So, excuse me. We met. I remember you grabbed out a pen and pad and said, "Okay, cool." So, like, I can't remember. I don't recall like the backstory stuff. I think we'd already chatted about it in the consult, but this was more like design your perfect partner.
Yes.
That's what, I'm not sure. Do you want to walk me through what's the process that you were doing with me now? Do you still do the same process? Or is it
Look, it has changed a little bit, but from memory, I mean, I always start with the big picture of what are you really wanting to experience.
Yeah.
And I do go into the detail. We definitely went into detail, but I always start big picture.
Yes.
What do you really want to experience, and why is it so important? What does why is it meaningful? So we went into the different areas of and the kind of woman that you were a bit scared of. And you mentioned
That's right. I was on Bumble. I mentioned I was speaking to this entrepreneur girl who she was very successful, multimillionaire, and like there was parts of me that felt like I don't know if I can. Like I felt threatened by that, right? And then there was another sweet girl that I was kind of talking to, and I thought, well, this girl's sweet, but I like the fire of that. And so what we were discussing is like you said to me, okay, well, these are different archetypes. I didn't even know what an archetype was.
Yes.
And there's this powerful, goddess type archetype, and there was this. By the way, I've shared this story a million times to other people.
Perfect.
And there's this other, kind of archetype. And what you said to me is, I want you to go out and I want you to go on some dates and find people that are some that represent this and some and feel into, without any pressure, feel into like what feels right for you. But who you said to me clear as day, who you're going to end up with is someone who's the perfect balance of both, which that's why I'm with my wife, because I met her. I'm like, wow, this girl is a fucking powerhouse. But because she's been through a lot herself and she's done the work, I'm not saying she was perfect. There was many times that we've had to do a lot of work together and healing that's had to happen. But she was on the journey, and that made me feel safe. And so she had past tense, present tense, still has this very nurturing, which is what I kind of needed.
And I've just met her for the first time in person.
Yes.
A very soft, feminine energy.
She's an app in business and thinks she can be hyper. I don't want to say masculine because it's the energy of masculine. Action taking, focused.
Very focused.
Very focused.
And strong, but she's got a huge range of feminine energy, which what you wanted.
She's one of the most feminine women that I've. She's can be so soft, so nurturing, and is really connected to what being feminine means. Which I didn't understand any of this stuff until I met you, until I met her, and it just obviously got a very successful relationship now, and things are going well. And I would put that to understanding, and we can go into this a little bit later, but understanding not that men, like this whole thing of men and women are the same, like. In my opinion, from what I've seen, we're very different. And thinking that we're the same is a very toxic place to be, because if a man, like I spent probably a lot of my life in flipping from wounded feminine to wounded masculine, wounded feminine to wounded masculine. But yeah, going back to that kind of designing.
That session really, I remember you were. I challenged you to really own what you wanted.
Yes, you did challenge me.
And go into like we talked about the real sexiness. And,
yes. That was all the shame. I had a lot of shame.
There was a lot of
sex.
shame around that.
A lot of shame around sex, a lot of shame around talking about that.
And that's the thing. In that session, we talk about, well, what do you really want then in the bedroom? What do you want in everyday life? What do you want to experience?
Which I don't think many people are having those conversations.
No.
And setting goals and understand. Like a lot of people just end up with people that just they happen to meet and then felt good about. There's no real architecture in really going, what life do I want, and what sort of partner would help? I think like what do you want your life to be? Well, I want to travel the world. I want to be doing entrepreneurial things. I want to do that. So we specifically spoke. I said we can't be someone in 9 to 5.
That's what you were really clear on that.
I was very clear.
Yes.
That's not the type of life that I want. They're not going to understand me. I need someone who's on an entrepreneur. Okay, cool. Need that. All right. We need someone
unconventional path. Exactly.
Yes. Otherwise, I'm going to annoy the shit out of them. They're going to annoy the shit out of me. It's a very different mindset. One's not wrong or right, but it was down to a lot of details, and that really, when I was going through that dating process, that was like a compass that really helped me know where I should invest my time. And I can, like, the biggest thing was, as beautiful as Alice is, I don't know if, had I not have worked with you, in my mind, because I had kind of been starved sexually in the last year or so in the previous relationship, which again, not to fault my partners, both of us. I mean, I was,
which actually is not that long compared to other people go through, right?
I mean,
it's long enough.
I mean, it was
felt like a long time.
It was, and it's not just the sex. I'm talking about
intimacy. Emotional intimacy.
It's feeling like, to me, you don't have sex when you're in a relationship, you're not really having sex with other people, hopefully. So to me, how much more intimate could you be with someone? You're not getting naked with lots of people.
No.
It's only one person. To me, it's the ultimate intimacy, and it's that intimacy that for a lot of men that I've found makes them feel connected. I heard a quote the other day that said men connect through intimacy, and that makes them feel safe, and women need to feel safe, and that's what actually allows them to have intimacy.
Well, and a similar quote is men need sex to open their hearts.
Yes.
They don't.
And women need to open their hearts in order to have sex.
And of course, it's not that black and white, because women tend to be more in touch with their masculine these days. But it's still a really good concept to remember.
Yeah. So, okay. So my experience was, going through that, you were giving me exercises and things to do. A really funny one was, you were saying to me, who's a celebrity or who's someone who you think is like a good balance of masculine. I said Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, I remember that.
He's confident, and he's a little bit brash and a little like,
and
he's got some swagger.
Yeah, you've got a similar vibe to him, definitely.
I'm not saying I'm Matthew McConaughey, but I'm saying
he's got that playfulness as well.
I related to that.
That's right.
But what was funny is I literally went on a date with a girl, and I was like, I had a lot of struggle with keeping eye contact. I felt very insecure about.
You were a bit scattered when I met you, actually.
I felt afraid of the feminine. I felt like I was still working through a lot of stuff.
What was scary about it? I'm curious, and the audience would be.
I was just talking to someone else about this before. It was so many things. I think I just felt I didn't feel masculine. I felt like I wore so many masks. I used a lot of things because I had a very low self-worth from a very young age. I used external things like my looks, like DJing, like modeling. I used these things as masks to feel confident, but they're very thin and fragile. And so to be intimate with somebody when you don't feel solid within yourself or have even close, I'm like, can they see through this veil? I didn't consciously, I'm not thinking that. But as I look back and I go, as a wise, conscious person now, that's what was happening. And so that felt like I couldn't keep eye contact with girls. It's just too awkward. But in that moment,
felt scary.
I'm looking around, and what was funny was she said to me, she was getting pissed off. She thought I was checking out other girls because we were at like Morris Jones, where there is a lot of girls. And she thought I was checking out other girls. And then she didn't say anything, but I could see her getting a little bit frustrated, I could just feel her vibe.
Right.
So then I remembered what you I remember what you said about, I'm like, Matthew McConaughey. So I just looked in her eyes, and she literally said back, I said to you, what you said to me, what was it about Matthew McConaughey? And I said it was his piercing eyes. And she looked at me and said, oh my God, your eyes are so piercing. The exact thing that,
wow.
So this stuff kind of works. So walk me through, like, what did you do with me? Like what What's the idea? What do you think people get wrong? Why has mine now worked out? What can you see from your perspective that's kind of different if you were to kind of psychoanalyze my journey?
Well, I think what you've just mentioned is absolute gold. The first part was really owning what you really wanted and facing the shame and the self-judgment.
And where does that come from? I mean, if you were to for the average Joe.
Well, it's
society,
parenting. You know, we don't usually grow up in a family where we're encouraged to own our shadows.
Yes.
Because our parents wouldn't have dealt with that.
And for the people that are watching that don't know what a shadow is, what is a shadow?
So a shadow would be the parts of ourselves that we're not proud of. So for example, as a young man wanting to, you know,
sow your oats.
Wanting to get, you know, have sex or watch pornography. Like that's not usually celebrated or talked about in families. So as simple as that.
Yes.
So of course we need to own our shame and look at that. So that was the first thing I think that you really liked about our connection and feeling safe with a confident, you know, I'm a fair bit older than you, but you know, still like
you're in your feminine.
I'm in my feminine. I'm embodied. You would have realized, like, I'm sexually confident. Feeling safe to open up would have been a big turning point for you. And then, like, realizing, oh, actually, maybe there isn't anything wrong with me.
Yes,
That's
exactly how I felt. And I felt open to explore. That exploration, I'd never felt safe to explore, or even the fact that I'm sharing this about how I was insecure, and I told the last girl I was on a podcast with that I had this thing I called the first kiss phobia. I was petrified. So I had a lot.
So great that you're talking about
so
that.
much. Well, that's the point of this, right? Is I think to make men great again, you need to.
We need to have those conversations.
You need to have the conversations because I'm not the only person. Some guy will, this guy might be a pussy or whatever else. But for me, the most courageous thing you can do is face the shadows, face the fears.
Just want to take a quick moment to break out of the podcast episode right now and just let you know that if you can subscribe to this channel, it will go a long way. We have a clear mission and movement to make men great again. And to do that, I can't do it by myself. I need you guys to do it too. And how we can do that is by more people signing up to this channel. That allows us to get more people onto the podcast, and that allows us to share this message about mass media, about marriage, about money, about mindset, about healing, so that more men can be great again and ultimately impact the world. So be a part of the mission, subscribe to the channel. We release episodes every Monday, and I'm sure that you're going to find it really valuable. So if you've found that you've enjoyed it so far, take a chance, subscribe to this channel, goes a long way. We're really grateful. And anyways, back to the episode.
I mean, and most men willing to do that, to me, that's weak. To me, being able to speak your truth, being able to do the work. So a shadow is something that
we don't
feel
usually
shame
own.
about, and
Exactly.
you're usually owning, and it's a part of yourself that is more of the not necessarily the darker side.
Yeah, but it's the part that we don't want to talk about.
It's
so
a part of ourselves.
Our insecurities, our subconscious things we're not aware of, but anything that we wouldn't be proud to talk about on a podcast.
Yes.
So we usually like talking about our strengths.
Yeah, all the things. Hey, I'm great.
So anything that and that's why coaching is so great, because we can then own them and talk about that. So that in itself, I think, is life-changing.
Yes.
Then the second part that I think we did a lot of was you then really owning your what you can bring to the table, your uniqueness, and then you really stepped into your purpose as well around that time with your business.
I remember you speaking some things into me, confirming statements, and again, just hearing that. Yes, of course, you're my coach. In no way, shape, or form are we, trying to get into any type of relationship.
That's right.
It was a very safe place, but the fact that a woman was saying, hey, these are some really great qualities, and I felt genuine. It wasn't like you're a friend and just trying to, say something nice. It was like, hey, look, let's put all the cards on the table. Okay, cool. We probably maybe need to work on a bit of that. And actually, this is going to work really well for you because you've got this. And I'm like, I do? Oh, wow, she's confirming that? I used to think that, and then this person broke my spirit on this. I think a lot of men... You
lost confidence in that the last relationship.
Because it was long, and we were we just were not the same people. I dated her because I'd been with a more kind of more like me and more like Ellis, which is kind of a little bit wacky and all over the place and loud. And she was much more quiet. And I always felt like that there was something wrong. You know what I mean?
With you.
With me and
being more of the loud.
Yeah. Just over time, just
so you felt like you needed to tone yourself down a bit.
And again, I think
it's not her fault.
It's not her fault. How we were able to break up in the end was I realized like I'm not seeing her like a queen. She deserves that. I'll never see her like that.
Interesting.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't need to feel bad about that. Somebody will. It's because it's not that there's anything wrong with her. It's just that she's not my. It's just not my thing. And
the dynamic wasn't right.
And vice versa.
And she would have never seen you as her ultimate king. She deserves to
feel that. And she'll never see me as the ultimate king. I think I'm fucking awesome. But
you do now.
I do now. But I do now. And I know that. And I can confidently take that into my relationship with else. All the things that my ex, she didn't shame me for, but just probably judged me a little bit for, are all the things where my wife absolutely thinks I'm the most amazing. She laughs at every joke and thinks, my type of humor, or when I'm in this stuff here, she encourages this.
She loves it.
She would have felt so embarrassed, and she even said to me, don't say those types of things in front of people because they might judge you. And I'm thinking, well, hold on a second. What? You must be judging me to think that someone else is going to judge me. Of
course. And that's actually a really good point for the people listening who are single.
Yes.
Choose a person you can be totally yourself with.
But the point is, again, nothing
and
wrong with her.
we often don't because of the shame part.
Exactly.
We don't because they represent something that we need to learn.
Yes.
And often our early relationships can be a little bit more of those testing ones where the more growth we do, we tend to then be more ready to actually be with someone who absolutely loves all of us because we are now owning all of us on your journey 100%. As well. Does that resonate?
100%. I mean, I had to step the fuck up to be with her because some of the slack, lazy ass shit that I was doing prior, that wasn't going to freaking fly with her.
Tell us more. What did that look like? The stepping the fuck up.
Well, for starters, I used to love doing drugs, and Alice is anti-drugs. Like when I told her that like I used to do like drugs and that I still occasionally did cocaine, she had a full-on meltdown and said, I don't think I can be with you. On the spot. And I was like, fuck, is she for real? Whereas I used to go out to 161 with my ex and she'd
be happy with it.
She'd say, I'll wait in the car for you. I'd say, babe, I've still got another hour in me. And it'd be 3-4 in the morning and she'd say, all right, I'll wait for you. I mean, she was a beautiful partner as well, by the way. I don't want to say anything about her. She was
absolutely gorgeous
amazing
woman as well.
But she'd say, I'll wait in the car, and she would have a nap in the car while I'm out on the disco floor. So, look, I'm not saying that, at the time, I really appreciated that. But, yeah, no, that wasn't going to fucking fly.
What made you be happy to give up the cocaine for her? What was the, because you could have made the decision of like, well, no, I don't want to give that part up. Why was it worth it?
Well, I want to say that I'm not a perfect person. Okay. I have done it since then.
Thanks for your honesty.
Well, I think it's the number one thing I want to have here is absolute. I don't want anyone to say this guy's lying or talking shit. I want to be absolutely raw, vulnerable, and honest, because that's part of giving people permission. If I share things that I'm not ashamed about, and I'm really owning who the fuck I am, then that gives the next man
absolutely
to do the same. And that if we do nothing but that with this podcast, I think it's going to change millions of lives.
Was she happy with it? Are you?
She's not happy with it,
but you
and it's not something that I do. Like probably in the times that I've done it since I've dated her would be like on one hand in 3 or 4 years, right? As opposed to before it was
and there's no right or wrong. I'm just curious about what's happened with that transformation because something you loved doing.
What I've learned is that forget the drug, right? Cocaine, ecstasy, all these different drugs, if you look at them, what do they do? I'm not sure if you've ever taken anything and you don't need
I've taken either. I've taken both, yeah. Not in a huge amount, but yeah, definitely.
So as an insecure man who had ADHD, high functioning, autism, I found it very uncomfortable and I was in my shell for a very long time. Drugs saved my life. saved my life.
Wow.
I'm not saying it wasn't painful, and I'm not saying that it caused a lot of pain as well. It did. So
but
I'm not recommending it.
They helped you
but
get
it helped me get out of my shell. It helped me when I was doing that. I felt like, for parts of it, more confident, and I was addicted to the confidence. I knew that I could be a different version of me, and it brought it out of me.
Makes sense.
And
so you felt more free.
Much more free. I was very
Amazing.
trapped inside
Which is
my
part
mind.
Of
and so
a big part of being in a masculine.
Even though I was a complete drug addict when I was younger, much younger. And then over the last 15 years, you just got less and less and less. And, just occasional time from time to time. Probably when I met her, I wasn't doing it often.
So
I wasn't doing it often.
What you were seeking with that experience was the feeling of confidence and freedom and being yourself.
Yeah, and also just connection. A lot of connection when you do that with your friends, like unlike alcohol, when you get blackout drunk and it's blah blah blah. Like alcohol's connection to a certain point. If you only have a couple, but I'm an extremist, so I wouldn't have a couple. If I just did alcohol without the drugs, I'm shit faced and I'm not connecting. I'm
right.
all over the shop.
You're numbing yourself out.
Yes, with that, you're I have like the deep connections and conversations that I've had and the things. It's just like I wouldn't give those up for the world. But as I aged, I realized that I wasn't good for my health.
Sure.
I realized that that it was really impacting my growth journey, and I knew why I was doing it now. I knew that I did it for connection. So I wanted to give myself what I was getting as the outcome. What my soul really wanted from that was connection. That's what I realized. To answer it quickly, I wanted connection. And so I started, so what are some other ways I could do that in a healthy way? And
having great sex.
Yes.
One of them, right?
Yeah. But even just, Alice and I, if you had a CCTV, we don't shut up. Not many people can handle being around. We are just
amazing.
She's a spitting image of me in the feminine, and we just talk shit non-stop.
Amazing.
Business, relationships, life, this, that. So
you feel like you can be truly yourself with her.
Truly myself, like 110%, which is obviously why I'm able to do this now.
Perfect. I love
plus
it.
a lot of healing. But to go back to what you're saying, I knew that I had to step up, and I say that openly because I think to make men great again, I think there's some things that women need to do, and I think there's some things that men need to do. In your opinion,
let's talk about that.
Yeah, what do you think? Like, you've seen both. I've done a fair bit of talking. If I just put the mic on you for a bit, what do you think that we need to do to make men great again? And for me, I sent you that blog before. It's like better husbands, better fathers, better leaders.
Yes.
That's the vision.
So from the feminine, which I think is really important to talk about and for the men to hear, I feel, and that's where my passion working with women, comes from.
You do some deep work with them.
Yeah, we need to give men a chance to thrive. We need to honor the masculine more. So from the feminine perspective, they need to let go of wanting to be in charge of everything. Like
which is a masculine.
I've got a very strong alpha in me. I've got a good balance. I feel like, I love I love initiating things. I'm confident. I like getting stuff done. So from that, the women I coach are usually fairly similar to myself. So we need to.
So they're kind of like, they're not stay-at-home mums usually.
No, they're career women.
Career women.
Yeah, and they're wanting to be
successful. They want to make money. They want to.
We want the whole.
Want to have it all.
We want to have it all. However, that comes, at a price if we want to have it a certain way. So my job for the work I do with the women is helping them how to step more into feminine, where they're not letting go of their power, but they're allowing the masculine to make more decisions.
And why is that? A lot of women out there who don't understand masculine and feminine energy, which I would encourage them to just simply Google. masculine and feminine energy.
And I mean, we talked about David Data. I think I recommended his book at the time. I did some training with him in New York many, many years ago, life-changing
He's like
work.
leading expert in the world on masculine, feminine, and Jungian theory. And all that
it's got a certain flavour, which I really love.
I think I'm just reading his book again now for the 10th
Way of the Superior Man for Men. It's
yes.
an amazing book, must read, and Dear Lover for the women.
Yes. Ellis has read that one.
So it's back to your question, why is it important? Because men don't feel totally valued and respected unless they feel like they can actually make a woman happy. They feel like, because otherwise they just feel controlled by her, and they end up resenting her, or they choose someone who's not an empowered woman.
Yes.
They feel in control, but they don't feel. There's no deeper connection. There's no deep intimacy, because it's more of it's just not as juicy, you know. So we want real deep intimacy with our equal, with a person we can be ourselves with totally. And that can be scary.
And that means allowing a woman to go through her, like so many men but they think that a woman should be logical. I'm like, Ella said to me, this is a funny quote. She said to me, the only logic is that I'm not logical.
Absolutely.
Like that's just get that through your head. And I know all this stuff, but then I have to remember too, because my masculine brain goes, but that doesn't make any sense. It's like, it's not supposed to make any fucking sense.
And
she's a woman, and that's not a negative.
No.
It's not a negative connotation. So a lot of women are hearing this right now, and they're maybe jumping on their feminism bandwagon, going, they're not supposed to say that. La 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 la. What do you say to that? What is it that these ultra kind of feminist women, or even there's a lot of people that aren't ultra feminist but have been brainwashed by the governments, in my opinions, and society to not let men be men and women be like. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's a really good question. Here's the thing, like, there's no right or wrong. So some people like relationships that are a little bit more lukewarm and a little bit more politically correct.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. You and I, like, we're similar in that way. We're very passionate people. We want polarity in our relationship.
Yes.
So this is where David Day does. Some people won't agree with him.
Yes.
If for the listeners who want that polarity, as far as like amazing, deep emotional connection, but also, but more than that, like deep emotional connection out of the bedroom, in the bedroom, great sex, great just passion
when I
and
hear
aliveness.
That, I'm thinking, surely there's no one in the world that doesn't. But I know there are people that maybe prefer something that's less confronting and little less.
It can be a bit intense for some people, but for most of our listeners will be similar to us, I would say, who want that aliveness and. That's where the polarity comes in: masculine, feminine, surrender, direction. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the woman always has to be in her feminine. We can switch. Switch it over.
And that's what you're saying about before. And I know that about Ella. She's in her masculine during the day when she's taking action.
Yes.
And then she does specific feminine activities. So in her program, she had a little list. These are some feminine activities. For instance, taking a soft bath with some essential oils and listening to some music. So at the end of the day, those, like, these days, a lot of girls, and again, there's nothing against it. They look fantastic and it's great. They're looking after their health, but it's more like fitness bodies and working hard and making it, which there's nothing wrong with doing that. But then what tends to happen from what I've seen is then they don't have yet the knowledge and skills to then drop back into the feminine. And then now they get home and the guys, Matt, the guy and the girl, they're both
too much in their masculine.
They're both much, and they just argue and try to control each other.
And that's the thing. Like when we both in our masculine, it's an ego fight.
It's a head fight.
It's a head fuck, basically, right? So if you want that kind
Everyone
of thing,
who's listening can relate to that.
Yes, and
this is a head fuck.
Yeah, and it's a control thing. If you want that kind of dynamic in your relationship, go for it.
I don't think anybody.
But it's exhausting.
It's exhausting, and this is where then if the man doesn't know how to cope with that, he drops back more into his more feminine side, which is more passive, and he goes, "Oh, this is too much. I can't handle this."
And that's usually when then the men start drinking a lot. You know, they numb out, they disconnect, they check out Twitter, porn, whatever. That's like, it's too much. This is too much, right?
I can't handle this. Containment is the word that I heard recently. Okay. I think it was who's that? Teal? Someone Teal?
Don't know.
Very fun. Anyways, so
So that's what we don't want. So back to your question, if that's what the listeners are wanting, my take on it is we need to have that polarity in our relationships. Either you step into the feminine more, or they step.
But you have to have polarity.
And can be a gay couple. So I'm not saying everyone has to be heterosexual.
Yes, it's not your sexual preference.
No,
it's your core energy.
Some relationships are happy to bring another person in every now and again. It's not like this is the only way to have a happy relationship.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that the polarity is what makes it really deep and passionate and long lasting.
So what do we need? So let's just speak to the guys and the women right now that are in that career. Like let's use that as the relationship right now, and they're clashing and they're heading down a track where maybe sex is not something that's happening as much anymore because we're clashing. It's hard to get into that space, and he's not feeling acknowledged. Like, let's go through the typical stuff. He's not feeling acknowledged. He feels like nothing's ever good enough. She feels like that he doesn't do anything and he doesn't care, and she doesn't feel loved, and they're just playing out the stock standard role. She's a career woman. You come in, like, what should they be doing to help their relationship get back on track? What does the man need to do?
Yes.
What does the women need to do? Give me 3 things for each one.
Big questions. I would say, first of all, they both need to have a bit of time apart where they go back into their own space.
Yes.
For the men, I would say really important for him to reconnect to his purpose.
Yes.
Be really clear on what he stands for and what he doesn't stand for.
How do we do that? We just write it down, get with a coach.
Get a coach.
Read a book.
Basically.
It's the fastest way.
Read the book.
I think you just...
The book is great.
If anyone's watching this, you must, if you want to thrive in your relationship or understand women...
Get a coach.
Get a coach, but even shorter than that, go on Amazon right now. I'll even drop a link below.
Yeah, the book is
drop
awesome.
A link below.
I love it.
Read, if you're a man, read the
Way of the Superior Man.
If you're a woman, read... What was it called?
Dear Lover.
Dear Lover.
Is a really,
I know a lot of women who've read Way of Superior Man, and they love it.
It's really great for women to read as well. So, but back, I know we're both the same. We get a bit, we can get excited and sad. It's all good. So back to that's where my masculine comes in. What were your questions?
Yeah, so what do women need to do? What men to do?
So have purpose. Some space. Men, reconnect to your purpose. Learn how to be really present with her.
Yes.
As we talked about earlier, eye contact, less mental, less arguing, less talking,
less transactional relationships and communication.
Definitely.
And more just actual
but just being
like,
and listen to each other, watch connect on that deeper level. Women, it would be the work of really allowing him to come to you again,
even if you
letting go of control, being more in your body. So that's what I would say for the women. Alpha females, including myself, we're so in our heads because we want to get stuff done.
Wow.
But if we actually connect more to our feminine, yin yoga is a really great practice. It's a really feminine way of yoga, really slow.
Lots of stretching.
Really, it's about like just less is more. Feeling your emotions as a woman, slowing down, spending time in nature.
Yes.
That's what's going to draw the guy back into your space, not from arguing, not from trying to convince.
It's not attractive from a man when the woman is, I don't want to say speak for all men, but for the typical male, when the woman's in her masculine, like when my wife's crushing it, I'm so proud of her and whatever, but I'm not saying like, oh my God, that makes me really horny or anything like that. Whereas when she's in her, when I'm like right now being podcast after podcast,
you're more in your alpha,
and she's more like
she's more your support. She's supporting your vision.
Isn't how we usually do our life. It's very more equal.
Equal, yep.
Or if
and it's not even not equal. Like she's the supporting. It's
the support. Yeah. Even if I'm truly honest, recently it's been more because I've slowed down my business to focus on the podcast. I've been stepping much more into the father role, and we're really championing her. Well, it's our business, but it's kind of her brand, and so it's been a shift. It's been interesting to navigate that slight change in not necessarily leadership, but the dynamic of masculine.
Yeah, beautiful.
And feminine.
Tell me more about, and this is me asking you questions, but I think it's valuable for the listeners. When do you feel most attracted to her, as in like wanting to take her to the bedroom? Like what's the energy?
Well, I mean, I'm going to give you the simplest answer. When she looks hot.
What does that? Okay, tell us more about that.
It looks like when she's wearing nice clothes. It could be. I think she looks absolutely gorgeous in gym wear. I think like the crop top, pants and that. I love it.
What else? What else?
Well, definitely. If I go out, it's just a simple thing. If I go out with my friends, normally you'd think, oh well, he might be looking around doing things, but I just feel grateful.
Mm-hmm.
I feel super, and that when I come home or the next day, I'm feeling very grateful for the beautiful relationship that I have, and that feeling that gratitude for her, that makes me feel attracted to her.
That's interesting.
Her giving because it represents freedom. Her allowing me to have that freedom and me being grateful for it.
Love that.
If she was busting my balls, saying "Where the fuck are you?" Da da da. Like that's not going to be getting us anywhere.
It's not an effort.
And I know that takes work for her not to text me.
Sure.
so that then makes
a bit of space.
Yeah, and that makes me happy that she does that effort for me. So that she, even though she wants to text me, even though she likes me being at home, that she holds off as she values what I need as a man, which is freedom and brotherhood. So that I see these little things, and that makes me feel grateful. And then probably the third thing is would be just when she's not in her alpha. Definitely, and she's more nurturing and we're close. She's just got this essence. I can't explain it, but it's an essence, and that's just so drawing.
It's magnetic.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. And I like she does it well. I don't know what she does, but it's very feminine.
She's very in touch with that.
Yeah, I probably don't know what she's done, but she's probably taken a bath. She's probably done.
She looks after herself.
Yeah,
and that's beautiful. So I'll share what from the feminine, what's attractive, and one of the areas definitely is that presence. The piercing eyes.
Yes.
We're like, wow, he's.
I
really
consciously do that.
Yeah, and that we need to feel that from our men, like that they can really hold the space for us.
So he's got work, he's got a million things on, and he goes,
but
he catches
present.
himself, and he goes, I want to put that phone away. I sometimes say you've got my 100% conscious, undivided. I just tell it to her as well, and she goes, oh. So phone down, even speaking to it. I'm not a perfect person, but you're saying that's really important.
That's really important. Then the whole purpose thing. We need to know that as a guy, you actually know what you're about, what you stand for.
You have to have a direction.
You have to have direction.
You're not just float.
You're not just a floater.
You're not a piece of fish food in a tank just floating around.
And that's another distinction of that is like you haven't settled for lukewarm.
Yes.
Even if you're not thriving.
So women are attracted to a man who's going for what he wants.
Correct.
Because that shows strength, and women want strength. I mean, I'll let you.
Yeah. So, that's so funny. we're both fiery people. So, yes, we're attracted to integrity as well.
Yes.
Certainty, mission, purpose, presence, and we want to trust who we're with. So.
That comes back to the integrity.
Yeah, and
you do what you say you're going to do?
Exactly. And like, can I trust you? If you're all over the place and you don't look at me with presence, I don't trust you, right? Okay. So trust is very important. Do I respect who this man what he stands for?
I think the
respect,
big
trust.
I think women lose a lot of respect for men over time because of all the things you just said. Because hold on a second, before he was making effort, he was able to contain me over time, and it's not necessarily the man's fault because he just gets tired. Because the woman, a woman can be a lot sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
And it can be if a man is also on his purpose and trying to make it all work. He's trying to be a dad. He's trying to be a husband. He's trying to do this. He's trying to do that, and it's like. And especially when that woman stops giving him love. I said this to my wife, and I know you got to go, so we'll wrap it up really shortly. One, beautiful moment with my wife where she gives me love, or even that could be sexual, or that could be a non-sexual, or compliment, something where I genuinely know she's meaning it.
What makes you most loved? Let's finish on that note. From that masculine perspective.
You know what? It's another simple answer. Just simply her being in her feminine, and what that feels like is her allowing me to. It's hard. It's a hard thing to describe, but it's a feeling. It's not necessarily something. It feels like polarity.
Love it.
It feels like that. I can't remember what your other question was.
No, and that's good.
But
so it is actually something you can't really explain, and that's the beautiful part of this.
Well, that's
because
it's energy, right?
It's beyond logic.
The simple way that I'll give you the logical explanation that I use because I'm very logical. I learned. I was an electrician for a few years, and we learned magnetism. It's one of the things you learn. So there's polarity.
There we go.
Right? So polarity. Now we know this because it's science. But you get two magnets. Everyone's done this before. You try to push them together. What happens? Sometimes they repel. But then you turn the magnet around into polarity and it attracts. Now, we don't see that, what's going on to make that happen, but we consciously know what it is.
And so we can feel it.
And we can feel it. And what else happens? We see the result. So we see the result of two things. In this case, it's two people coming together versus two people. So if you're not coming together with your partner, you're out of polarity. It's simple as fucking that. Right?
It's simple as that.
If you don't know what to do, Camille's saying, get the book.
Yes.
All those books, we'll drop them in the comments.
Get a coach.
Obviously, Camille's a fantastic coach if you want to get your wife to do work with her or if you work with men. And then outside that, any last notes? How can we make men great again? If you were to do a recap or your top.
How to make a man great again is see the divine in them.
Yes,
like really,
yes.
Acknowledge their
Don't make them wrong.
Don't make them wrong. See the beauty in them. So for the women listening, focus on what they are amazing at. Honor the masculine.
And get into your feminine. Even if you're you can be an alpha during the day.
Absolutely.
And a more feminine
Absolutely.
by night.
We can do it. We can play in the whole
But it takes unpacking stuff, doesn't it?
Definitely.
It can feel unsafe to be in the feminine if we've had certain things.
I was just talking, just one more thing. I was talking to one of my past clients today, and we were talking about the biggest stretch for strong women is vulnerability because we don't feel like we're in control in that space.
And the control has happened
scary.
over time. Sometimes it's a trauma response because the men in lives weren't there to protect you. So that's a way to keep yourself safe. I'll become that protective thing. And then
we don't trust.
Never happen again.
So it is actually going back to your question, is for the women, it's really trusting the feminine, trusting the masculine in that we can get our needs met by trusting the masculine. And for the men, trust your own masculine. Trust that you can and step the fuck up, as you mentioned earlier.
And I won't take it too long, but just last thing, do you think that, and we won't go into unpacking it all, but just in closing, do you think that the reason why both either a man or woman doesn't stay in his masculine or woman gets stuck in her masculine, do you believe that that's a lot of those things stem from past relationships with, for instance, parents or other people in life in younger years where we have a wound with that masculine or with that feminine? So, for instance, if I'm a woman, maybe it's the father, or if I'm a man, it could also be the father, or it could be the mother, and those represent wounds that we haven't healed yet. And that's why when we work with a coach or someone, we heal some of those wounds, plus start some of those, either if you're a man, more masculine practices, or if you're a woman, more feminine practices, and then we're able to heal the trauma and then kind of step into that a bit more. Is that the way that you also see it?
Definitely. And I don't feel like we need to go into years of therapy.
No.
Because
look at my transformation.
Exactly. Your transformation was really quick.
Like months.
It's a little bit of awareness and then making a decision of what do I need to, and letting go of the shame. It doesn't need to be years and years of psychotherapy.
No.
It's courage. It's looking at what you need to look at and then stepping into something new.
Yeah. And I think the last thing, which will point it back to you, is I think you need a few people, and hopefully this has given some listeners today permission. That's what Camille gave to me, and I'm so grateful for you, Camille, sharing your wisdom, your presence, and your permission-giving energy and self.
You're so welcome. And I'm so happy to see the beautiful outcome and that I'm part of, that I've been a big part of the journey. I'm owning it. I love it. I've received that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
taking time out of your busy day. I'll drop links to any of Camille's stuff that she's got on, so you can kind of follow her if you really felt a resonance to her words and potentially want to work with her or anything. You can just click through and check her out. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching another episode of the Make Men Great Again podcast, and we'll see you on another episode soon. Bye for now.
What an awesome episode. And if you want to watch more, just click the button here, here, or here. Watch the next one, and we'll see you soon.